Welcome back to more Soul Reaver 2. Today we are going to enter the first dungeon of this game, in an area that's actually a bit different than one windy path with people trying to kill Raziel.
There appeared to be a passage here, leading northward into the mountains. The opening, however, was obstructed and too high for me to reach. Perhaps later I would find the means to bypass these obstacles.
Thank you, game. Good to have you telling me what to do. Awesome. Here I'm looking for a climbing wall. There it is. Yeah, it's weird how you get a power in Soul Reaver 1 and then you use it a little bit and then don't use it again. Although I think you always use the phase ability. But that climbing ability, we did not. So I didn't say this in previous videos because of all the cutscenes. Raziel has most of the powers that he had in the previous game. The only one we don't see is Constrict, which was stupid.
My lurking friend was nowhere to be seen, but I found these ruins even more intriguing. I recognized these arcane symbols from the chamber beneath the pillars, and realized that this shrine too was sealed to all but the bearer of the Reaver.
Awesome. It's almost like he's being led here. I'm just saying. Almost like. But we have seen several of his abilities already. The climbing, the swimming, the phasing. I haven't shown the telekinesis yet, but we will get that in this temple. Which is odd because we got that from a guardian instead of one of his brothers. Which I still think that was supposed to be Terrell originally. Huh. Wonder whatever happened to Terrell. Guess we'll have to play on to find out. So I could kill this thing with a Reaver, but I figured I would want the health. I am going to be trying to minimize the combat in this temple. I love that little screech he does. That's something unique to this game. You won't do that in any other game. Well, the only other game after this he appears in is Defiance. But he doesn't do it in Soul Reaver 1 either. So these temples require these shields to open doors. I hope there's a brightness setting in this game. If there is, I will try to turn that up a bit for the next video. Except we might be in a brighter area in that video, so I'll have to see. Awesome. Out my way! See? Raziel let you live. He wants to be peaceful. He wants to dance with you. Dance with him, monster. Dance with him. No? Okay, that made no sense. Whatever. Moving on. It does make sense this area would be dark since this is the Dark Forge. I have some theories about these temples, but I'm going to have to wait until the end of Defiance to be able to talk about that, unfortunately. There are some dudes you could fight, and knowing me, I will probably forget. If you want, why would you want to?
Throughout this ancient shrine, murals depicted the winged race and the apocalyptic war against their mysterious and equally inhuman adversaries. These winged beings, it seemed, were not only the architects of the pillars, but of this enigmatic place as well. And just as in the pillar's chamber, this shrine was adorned throughout with imagery of the Reaver, depicted with the reverence of a holy icon.
I so want to talk about my theories about these temples. However, instead I'll talk about Raziel's character model after I talk about that mural. So that is something that we will get throughout the rest of Raziel's journey, are these murals and Raziel commenting on them. They will be both in this game and Defiance whenever he enters a temple. And I heard the wonderful sound of a checkpoint, which is nice. And this music gets used in Defiance as its temple music as well, which is pretty cool. I did not make a joke that I wanted to make, but the next time I do one of these temples, I'll be sure to do it. Nope, I forgot. It requires some character action on Raziel's part. I do like the spectral realm in this game. It makes things a lot easier to see. I talked about that briefly in Soul Reaver 1. How a lot of times I would go spectral just so I could actually see where I'm going. Unfortunately, there are no souls here. These slew are a lot more aggressive in this game. I try fighting these guys regularly, and then I start doing this where I just walk around swinging the Reaver. I'm just going to walk around here doing this, and if you get hit, it's your own fault. This seemed to work a lot better. I'm not a fan of the combat in this game. At least I don't have to worry about Raziel leaving himself open to attack, trying to do a finisher move on an enemy that's not stunned. That still ticked me off. I wanted to use the Fire Reaver for that entire finale of that game. And I should have been able to. But the game is broken, much like this one. So I'm looking for another climb me wall. There it is. Come on, Razzie, climb like the spider you stole that ability from. Damn it. So one thing to note, like in Soul Reaver, you cannot jump up these. I'm so used to God of War, even though I've been playing Soul Reaver for the last month. So unless you count this as the power of rotation, that's the only ability he got in Soul Reaver that he doesn't use in this game. Hey, a block pushing puzzle. I like that they kept the same sound effects of him grabbing onto the blocks. Thankfully, we don't get actual block puzzles in this game. I think there might be one slight block puzzle, but nothing like what we got in Soul Reaver. I'm not even opposed to one or two. It's just that game had so many, and that's all it really did in terms of puzzles. Whereas they had the occasional shifting puzzle, which was really cool, and I would have liked to have seen them do more of that, because that was far more interesting. Right, so here's our first use of kinesis. I can't see, there's supposed to be a target reticle. I can't see that. I couldn't even see what I was aiming at half the time, because all I saw was Raziel's back. That took me a while to do. But now that that's done, we can turn this. Even if the ability we got from Duma had been that, where now Raziel's strong enough to turn things like that, I would have been okay with that. But running around things like an idiot, No, just no. I just finished my Soul Reaver playthrough yesterday. Got everything edited and uploaded. And I'm already starting this game. Actually, 3 videos into this game now. So I'm still bitter about that. Awesome. Good stuff. How much you want to bet if I need Raziel to grab onto a ledge, he won't do it. But, of course, in that scenario, he did not. I'm also trying to avoid talking about my original Let's Play of this game because, while there were some hilarious moments in that, I really don't need to remember that LP. I say that because that last scene reminded me of something from that Let's Play. So, Raziel's look in this game, which you're not going to see because of the remaster, unless I have to change to the PS2 version, which could happen. Raziel's look in the original version of this game is kind of the iconic look for me. That's what I think of when I think of Raziel. He looks kind of goofy in Defiance. However, I do like the remastered look of Raziel better. I've been critical of these remasters, but the people that did these remasters did a really good job with Raziel. And Raziel always had a somewhat consistent look. There were differences from one game to the next, but he was similar. And here's another use of the Spectral Realm. It's very minor, but welcome. It will take us some time to get to that, though. I'm looking for a climbing wall first. Kain, on the other hand, his look changes completely every game. Except for his hair in the back, he looks completely different in every game. But they did a really good job with his look in this game. Kain, on the other hand, I think they were trying to make him look more like he did in Soul Reaver 1. I'm not sure they did that right. I might look at modding this game if there's a mod for him, because I'm not feeling that. And I couldn't tell if they kept the same facial animations that he had in the original. They did some really good facial animations in this game in its original form. Awesome. So walk forward and we're going to get a surprise. I'm not sure why we have to fight all these people in order to gain a key. I guess if we didn't, then I would hardly be fighting anybody in these videos. Until later. Trust me, the combat will get more involved later. I just try not to engage in it because it wastes time. And the combat's not fun until Defiance. Although I can't remember if it was okay in Blood Omen 2. Yeah, so I got confused at which pillar I need to move. But it's this one, the lighter colored one. So we're going to move that. It's not actually in the right spot, but thankfully I can do the rest of this puzzle and then come back and move it. And we'll be fine. Thankfully I was able to get this one first try, but I wasn't able to see a target reticle to show where I'm aiming. And I think you have to use the Reaver on both of these. I didn't show me getting the Reaver out for the last one, but I'm pretty sure that's what you have to do. So I'm going to turn this and then realize, oh crap, I must not have moved that pillar enough. Alright, thank you Duma for that ability. I'm going to assume That's the ability we got from Duma, just repurposed. And that they just made it not retarded in this game. It took me a while to find the pillar that I need to jump on. I could see it in the video, but I couldn't when I was playing. It's kind of dark. Much like this game. Damn it, Razzie, just get up there. Something else worth noting. Sometimes the glide button doesn't work. I've been looking at a Let's Play of this game, and the guy doing it was having the same problem. I think actually worse than I'm having. You guys will see an example of that later on this video. Alright, so we gotta move down there. I feel like I need to be making more jokes during these LPs. It has been a while since I've done solo commentary. I like that little flip that Raziel does once he picks this thing up. It's just a little detail that's kind of funny. But until Soul Reaver 1, I haven't done a solo commentary playthrough in a while. I'm not used to making jokes on my own.
My brain is literally melting.
Let's face it, usually if I'm making jokes, they are sex jokes, and we haven't seen anybody I want to make jokes about in the Legacy of Kain series. And you folks are about to see what this temple does. This will also mean I can talk about something I mentioned back in video 1. And this choir is a bit unnecessary. I always thought it was goofy when opening up these doors with the Reaver, but that was a bit over the top. I'm not sure what this is, but we need to walk around it.
As I neared the altar, I suddenly felt the Reaver quickening of its own volition. Just as in William's chapel, the balance of power tangibly shifted. Voracious and willful, the Soul Reaver was now in control, and I, merely its helpless puppet. The Reaver plunged itself into that mysterious altar, and devouring the energy that emanated from within, drained this place of its power. Thus sated, the Reaver released me, and I realized as I recovered control that these ancient shrines were forges, each purpose-built to enhance the Reaver with elemental power. Now I understood the purpose of the mysterious basins I had seen throughout my journey. They were elemental fonts, each attuned to a fundamental essence. When I forged the blade, every font in Nosgoth with the same elemental attunement was simultaneously quickened. The Reaver's enhancements were never permanent, but these fonts enabled me to re-imbue the blade by bathing it in the elemental energy distilled therein.
Yep, so anytime we see one of these and it does that pulsating sound and it has the purple glow, that means we can use that to give the Reaver a darkness element.
Concentric circles, one eclipsing the other. I recognized this symbol from the door sealing that other ancient shrine, the one I had seen in the lake outside the Sarafan stronghold. Perhaps now, armed as I was with the elemental power of darkness, I could return and gain entry.
He's referencing the cutscene in video 1 I did not get. But again, all it does is tell the player at some point you need to go there. So I don't really feel like we missed much. All right, we've done everything we need to do here. It's time to get the fudge out of here. And we're not going to fight anything. Screw that noise. I do wish it was easier to see in this temple. I get it, it's the dark temple, but still. I still need to be able to see where I'm going.
You're a ragged excuse for a savior.
Vorador.
I see my reputation precedes me.
It does.
All good, I hope? I've been watching you since you emerged from that accursed stronghold. Strange that your arrival coincides with the corruption of the Pillars. But I'm wondering, are you the catalyst of these events? Or the answer to them?
I don't know what you mean.
I will speak plainly then. I distrust your origin, stranger. Seeing you crawl from the putrid depths of Mobius's keep makes me question your purpose here. And what should I make of your appearance? Not human, clearly, and more demon than vampire. And the Pillars. It is no mere coincidence that your arrival in that clearing heralded the Pillars' decay. And so I ask you plainly, are you the instrument of the Pillars' destruction or their salvation?
Neither.
Very well. Let us look at the other side of the coin. I have followed your journey and watched as you blithely unlocked secrets that have been sealed and forbidden for thousands of years. The path you have been treading is open to only one being. You don't know what you are, do you?
I have been many things. If you find me ignorant, enlighten me.
What's the point? This world is beyond redemption. Let the human cattle have it.
I would expect better than meek capitulation from you.
Centuries of persecution have taught me well. 500 years ago, our race was nearly exterminated by the fanatical crusades of the Sarafan. And now the same sick drama unfolds again. In merely a decade, Mobius's cutthroat citizen army has nearly accomplished what the Sarafan could not. Vampires meddling in the affairs of men. Look where it's brought us.
What am I to make of these secrets I've uncovered, then? The depictions of the winged race, the Pillars, and the Reaver.
Fairy tales, boy. The delusions of an ancient culture clinging to hope long after the world had discarded them. Their bloodline trickled away, until only one of the ancients remained, sustained solely by obligation and his unfaltering faith in the old prophecies. But you see, even if you are who you appear to be, it no longer matters. You're simply too late. Janos Audron, the Reaver Guardian, the last of the ancients, and my maker, was murdered by the Sarafan nearly 5 centuries ago. He alone would have the answers you seek, but his secrets died with him. I don't know how you've come even this far without his guidance, or without the Reaver, stolen these 500 years ago by the Sarafan. I'm afraid, my friend, that you and all of us are out of luck.
I had no less reason to trust Vorador than anyone else I had met. In fact, the ancient vampire was the most forthright being I had encountered thus far. If Janos Audrin was the key to all this, then I would find him, and Mobius's time-streaming device would provide me passage. But first, I had to find a way back into the stronghold, and I suspected I would find the means within the lake's mysterious shrine.
That mysterious shrine that, again, I did not show. Now we have our goal for most of the game. Go back in time and meet Janos. And trudge through this annoying swamp again. I still think this was a bad idea. And it's interesting how these areas in Nosgoth change completely depending on which game that we're in. Something I did not mention, the area that the pillars are in. I talked about this in Soul Reaver 1. At least in this game, that area looks more similar to the area the pillars were in Blood Omen. So I do appreciate that. Right, so I had trouble navigating this area. I got irritated, and eventually I went into the Spectral Realm. You can't do this to get to where we were because you will not be able to reach that climbing wall because you need a portal to exit the Spectral Realm, and there's not one there. However, you can enter into the Spectral Realm to get back here. Unfortunately, that means we lost our Dark Reaver. That means I will have to find another basin to re-imbue the Reaver with darkness. Fortunately, there's one not too far away from where we're going. Unfortunately, that's going to require me to swim. And you will notice I cut most of the swimming in this Let's Play. Awesome, so we're just backtracking at this point. We still have another important cutscene to get. Of course it's this game. There's always going to be another cutscene. Until the game ends. But I'm sparing you most of my attempts at swimming. I do wish it was easier to swim on top of the water without him ducking under the water. At least I could get my bearings a little bit.
Ah, my wayward child returns.
Having unearthed more than you'd like, I suspect. What am I to make of these ruins that litter the land, and these images here in this chamber?
Merely the deceits of a failed civilization. You are being misled, Raziel. This ancient race hoped to manipulate the future with these scrawled misdirections. You must tread carefully. There are dark forces at work in this world, bent on subverting your true destiny.
I have no doubt of that. The question is, am I in their presence right now?
Your arrogance will spell your demise, Raziel. Deny my will, and the arc of your destiny will reach a sudden conclusion.
Your threats are unmoving. Even now, I'm beyond your reach.
My reach is longer than you realize. This is a very dangerous game you're playing, Raziel.
So there is some consistency with the Elder God's appearance in this game. Again, I'm just trying to get back to the save point. He appears near the pillars in Soul Reaver 1. And now that we've saved up, you can see something I talked about earlier in the video. I'm just trying to jump and glide here. And the glide did not work. Thankfully, I didn't get lost in the water, which happens a lot. But that is a concern. That was not an issue in Soul Reaver 1. If I wanted to glide, that's one of the few things that worked every time. Something else cool is this marble in this flooring looks really nice. I wonder why this flooring got a nice look to it. and most everything else looks like crap. Seems odd. And these creatures respawn every time you come through here. Not a big deal right now because we can just ignore them. Later, that won't be so easy. Like I said, the combat gets more involved later on in the game. At least I don't think we will. We'll have to see. So now we are backtracking. This is not something I'm a big fan of. In Silent Hill, once you finish the hospital, you have to backtrack to the school, which you hadn't been to in a while. But once you hit this bridge, the developers were nice enough to automatically teleport your character to the place you needed to be, which saved a lot of needless walking and fighting monsters. We don't get that here. Fortunately, you really don't have to fight anything if you don't want to. Nice. I'll take that checkpoint. And the reason I didn't fast forward any of this is because I like the dreamy sound of this music. I'll probably fast forward this area later because we will be going back and forth through here a lot. But I did want to give this music a chance to be in the video. This game really does have good music. It's different from the style of Soul Reaver 1, but it's still solid. And since I'm planning on saving soon, I don't mind using the Reaver a bit. I'm pretty sure these dudes respawn once you load a save. Something else worth noting, if you are playing, if you get to a save point, save, quit the game, and then reload your save. The game does restore your health, so that's nice. Give me that soul, stupid dog. I wish I could do that to my downstairs neighbor's dog. The fucking thing barks all the time and will not shut up. Look, I like dogs and all, but I don't like it when they're constantly barking. And I'm not exaggerating, that thing will just bark consistently for hours. Will not shut up. It's irritating. So yeah, this is all we're doing the rest of the video. Backtracking. And I hear Raziel's voice actor. I remember this area. I don't know if we have to come back here later. I think we might. I don't remember what it's for. We don't need it for anything. I guess it's just there for show. But I do find that odd that the Elder God talks to Raziel like a continuation of their conversations they had in Soul Reaver 1. And Raziel's not surprised by it at all. He obviously knows Raziel and remembers their interactions, which is odd. But like I said, the Elder God exists outside of time, according to the research I did. And at this point, I got tired of enemies' guff, and since I'm at the end of the video anyways, I figured, you know what? I will let the Reaver have a few souls. Oh, the Reaver no longer keeps you alive, so you still lose health even when you have the Reaver out, which is another design choice for it that I don't like. They really removed most of the usefulness of this thing in this game. And you can see there the Reaver's starting to get a bit activated. We don't want to do that. But again, I'm headed for a save point, so it doesn't matter. So I hope you're enjoying the series. If you are, please be sure to give the video a like. as well as the 2 previous videos. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time with more Soul Reaver 2.